Good afternoon, students. Welcome to today's counseling session for final paper 1 financial reporting. In today's session, we'll be discussing the basic tips which you should take care of while appearing for your examination or before your examination. What should be your strategy? What should be your planning? How to keep yourself cool and focused? And then also any of specific queries related to your mock test papers. Mock test paper series for March and for April, both the series. Whatever questions, queries you have, you can post to us. First of all, before starting, we would like to request you, just restrict your queries to the subject of financial reporting so that we can be able to use this time optimally and also to your benefit. Okay, before starting with the session, I would like to introduce myself. I am CA Shilpa Agarwal and my colleague CA Anshul Kumar. We both will be taking your counseling session for financial reporting paper. Okay, so welcome all. Let me share my screen. Okay, so students, okay, hope my screen is visible to you all. Counseling session for this mock test paper. First point we are going to discuss is what are the tips for the examination. These are very important tips, though students tend to ignore this, but these are very important. One should take care of these points because if any of the point is not taken care of, they will lose marks. In paper of financial reporting, there is step marking, and step marking means marking for each and everything. Since your paper for financial reporting is largely on Ind AS, largely Ind AS is the syllabus. So Ind AS are applicable only for companies, corporate entities. So corporate entities have their formats for financial statements. Wherever you are asked to prepare the financial statements, it means it is to be prepared on the basis of Division 2 of Schedule 3 to the Companies Act 2013. Division 2 is basically for Ind AS based financial statement. The formats are for Ind AS based financial statements. What happens it is not necessary that in examination it is mentioned that you have to follow this Division 2 of Schedule 3, but still it is implied. Even if it is not mentioned in the question paper, it is implied that you have to follow the formats of Division 2, which are the formats which are given in Division 2 to Schedule 3 of the your Companies Act. Use proper formats. Though the formats which are given in the financial statements are very broad and very in detail, but for examination purpose, you can use the important headings like what are current assets, non-current assets, under current assets, PPE, intangibles, your capital work in progress. These important headings you have to use it. Similarly, for your equity and liabilities also, you have to take care of the important headings. Subheadings, if possible, if you are able to remember, you are having that practice, then use it in the sequence. Otherwise, subheadings may be in different sequence, but all the important subheadings also has to be covered at the face of the balance sheet or in the face of your financial statement. That is also statement of profit and loss. So take care of the format properly. This is very important. Though it appears that the requirement of the question paper does not mention about the format of the financial statement, but if wrong format is used in the examination, that will definitely lead to deduction of marks. So take care of this important point that proper formats has to be used wherever it is asked that you have to prepare your financial statements or you have to prepare your balance sheet or statement of profit and loss. If you go through the question paper, at the beginning of the question paper, at the top of the question paper, on the first page, it is mentioned working notes form part of your solution. It means if it is forming part of your solution, it means it carries marks. So definitely this is important. Adequate working notes are to be given. Now, what is meant by writing adequate working notes? Adequate working note means wherever their computation is involved, wherever multiple computation is involved, and after multiple computation, you arrive to the one final figure which is to be taken to either in another working note or at the face of your financial statement. That particular amount is to be substantiated through a working note, how it has been calculated or how it has been arrived. So it is very important that working notes should be given for important figures. Important figures, when you'll be giving for all the calculation, For example, if we have to calculate depreciation, only depreciation is to be calculated, that you can show it in the face of the balance sheet, face of the profit and loss itself. However, if you have to calculate the value of PPE, which includes addition of the property, plant and equipment during the year, which includes depreciation, which includes revaluation, then it is definitely requiring a separate working note. So in that case, use the working note, prepare working note to substantiate the figures, and then come back to your final amount which is to be given, and give also link your amount with the working note. It should not be like that you are giving the working note, but when you're mentioning that amount which is arrived, which is the final figure from that calculated arrived from that working note, when you're using that figure in your financial statement, you are not quoting the working note number. Don't do that. That is also very important. If your working note number is given at particular amount, it will be easy for the examiner to relate with the working note. They can correspondingly go to that particular, they flip the page, come to that working note and check how you have arrived at this figure. So this is also very important. Easy numbering and easy referencing, or referencing makes the examiner easy for, referencing makes the examiner easy for checking. And when it is easy for them, then they definitely are impressed. You can say this is indirect advantage which will be getting if you are putting your working notes, substantiating your figures with the proper working note, and your paranum or referring the working note with the amount at the face of your financial statements. Now, next important point which is to be kept in mind is the answer the questions with due emphasis of the provisions of Indian accounting standards. So, since Ind AS is your syllabus, largely, except 2 chapters, all of the chapters or all of the topics of the syllabus is Ind AS. So wherever possible, when you are answering the questions which does not involve computation, which involves discussion, which involves conclusion, which involves comment, or any type of analysis, evaluation, where you have to bring into the provisions of Indian accounting standards any para of Ind AS, and you have to substantiate your conclusion with the help of those provisions of the Ind AS. It is not necessary to put the para numbers, even though you don't put the para numbers, but in your own language, write the provision of that particular Ind AS. By writing the provision of Ind AS, you leave the impression in the mind of the examiner that you know the standard, and this is the reason why you are coming to this particular conclusion. So this will also help you in fetching good marks for a particular question where discussion, comments, explanation is involved. It is not necessary that you put para numbers or Ind AS number, but you can simply write as per the standard. As per, if you know the standard name or number, then it is well and good enough. If you do not remember that, then don't misquote it. Don't write wrong Ind AS number. Don't write wrong Ind AS name, or don't write wrong para number. Para numbers are not at all important for your examination. It is not possible for any student to remember all the the provisions with respective para numbers. So that is not expected from students. This paper is not for testing your memory. This paper is for testing your analytical skills, how much understanding you have, how you are able to relate that understanding, those provisions with the scenario which is given in the question, and apply the scenario in your situation, and you are able to arrive at particular conclusion. That is important. That is what is tested. So para numberings are not at all important. What is important is that you substantiate your answer with certain provisions of the Ind AS, which you can write it on in your own language. That will also suffice. Moreover, since Ind AS are judgment-based standards, they are not rule-based. They are principle-based standards. So it may happen that there are many facts, and when there are many facts, you have to arrive at conclusion by emphasizing the weightage to those facts. So it may also happen that there are possible alternate solutions. There are possible different solutions which all are acceptable because they are judgment based. They based on your emphasis which you are putting it in the solution, and based on that you are arriving at the solution. So wherever it appears that information is missing and you have to put your weight on from your own side, you are taking any assumption, please mention that assumption in your solution. Mentioning assumption will help you. Mentioning assumption will help you in putting your picture very clearly, coming out clean, that the examiner knows this is what was going in your thought process, this is what was in your mind, and based on that you have given this solution. And definitely your assumption should be logical and acceptable. And even when examiner also finds that yes, whatever assumption is given by you is logical, quite acceptable, possible, then definitely that will be considered by evaluation and you'll be getting marks for that. So it is not that whatever one solution it is given, that will only be the possible solution. There can be possible different solution also which is acceptable. That will only be possible when you disclose your assumption in your solution. So wherever there is a scope of assumption, it is not that. One more thing which is to be kept in mind is that there is no scope of assumption and still you are taking the assumption. Then that will not fetch you any marks or it won't help you. Only where there is scope of assumption, you are taking your assumption and that assumption is logical and acceptable, you will be definitely being considered while evaluation. One important point is matching of requirement of the question with your answer. This is one important point where students generally make errors. What happens when students come to us, they say, see, we have done the computation, still we have not received full marks. The question was of 8 marks, still we have received only 3 marks or 4 marks, half 50% marks have been allotted to us. What is the reason? The reason is that the question, requirement of the question, the terminology, the verbs which are used in the question do not match with the solution which is provided by them. For example, the question says to explain or discuss the treatment. And what is given in the solution is the computation. So computation is one of the part of explaining, one of the way of explaining, but it is incomplete way. You have to explain means you have to write in with the help of provisions of the standard. Along with the provisions, you have to explain what is given in the scenario, how it has been connected with the provision, and why you are doing this. Computation will help you in explaining, but it will not only the manner of presentation or giving the solution. So you have to match your solution with the requirement of the question. If a question is saying to disclose how it is going to appear or present the facts, what is there in the balance sheet. You have only given the computation, you have mentioned this is non-current liability, this is the portion of current liability, whatever subheading is there, for example, financial liability or something. But you have not presented in the financial statement. You have not given in the form of extract of financial statement. So definitely that is also going to deduct your marks. So please take care of that. This is also very important. Your requirement part should match with your question requirement should match with the solution. Even if you know the answer, but you are not putting it on your answer sheet, then definitely it is of no importance. So take care of that also. Any query? Okay, next, we are moving to next slide. Whatever we have explained, we are using that only. How to improve marks in the examination. Whatever tips we have discussed earlier in the earlier slide was basically what points you should take care before writing the examination, what should be in your mind. Now, during examination, when you are sitting in the examination and you got 15 minutes extra before that question paper is received by you, what are the points you should do, how to do it, how to proceed. When you start writing the answer, first, the important thing is that 15 minutes which is given to you for the reading of the question paper. When you are reading the question paper, try to read fast, take a glance of the question paper, take the glance of the questions which are appearing in the question paper in those 15 minutes. While reading, also try to understand in what question you are confident, what question you know properly and you'll be able to solve 100% without error. Choose those questions and try to solve those questions at the beginning. Start with those questions where you are 100% sure that you'll be able to give your best. So when you start writing the answers, first write the answer which you know the best. This will lead impression. This will leave impression among the in the mind of the examiner that the student is good. He has given complete answer. He is good in that. So this impression will last till your last answer. So okay, so this is very important. You start, and that will also help you in confidence, gaining your confidence, boosting your confidence. So what happens if you perform first answer that was correct, your balance sheet tally, so you feel confident. Yes, you have done one question of 20 marks. You have completed, and that too you feel that is correct. So it will help you in boosting your confidence. That boosting of confidence will help in performance of other solutions also. So do the first answer should be one in which you are 100% confident, or in which you feel that you present it best in the best manner. Second is, moreover, you should attempt all the subparts of question at one place. This is very important. What happens now? What is the paper is? It is very difficult. It is hardly appears in the exam. Whatever is the trend in the past examination, there is no such question which does not have any subparts. In your new course financial reporting paper, all the questions carry subparts. Maybe 2 subparts, maybe 3 subparts, or in some places there are 4 subparts also. So when there are 3 or 4 subparts, or there are 2, 3, 4 subparts, it is very necessary. This is also the instruction given in your examination question paper, also in your answer sheet, or the examination form which you are filling, that you have to do all your subparts at one place. At one place means if you have started with question number 2A, then do question after that, do question 2B, then do question 2C if there it is, or question 2D if there it is. However, sometimes it may happen that you are very confident with question number 2A, but you're not confident with question 2B. In such a situation, what you have to do is that leave some tentative pages which you feel you'll be requiring to do that particular solution, and start with another question. Okay, so that all the subparts of one question are at one place. 2A and then 2B. Though if you are not preparing for 2B, leave some space, and then leave some pages, and then move to next question. In this manner, when you come back to 2B, you'll be able to do it at that particular place only. Okay, this is to be taken care of. You can do 2B first, then 2A, then 2C, 2C, then 2A, then 2B. That is okay. But question number 2 is answered at one place. This is called at one place. Further, your handwriting should be eligible. You also need to maintain your speed while writing the answer. In financial reporting paper, what happens? You have to do good number of calculations. Now, because of Ind AS, your answer may be in the form of descriptive, or you can say writing in a manner of a theoretical also. In such a situation, you have to maintain that speed. Your hand and mind coordination is very necessary. So what is always advised is that during your preparation time, do written practice of all the questions, either theoretical or numerical, but do written practice, because theoretical questions also have equal weightage in your new course financial reporting paper. So what happens if you have done written practice? What happens that you have to maintain that speed. That speed automatically comes because of that written practice. And also, along with the speed, your writing should also be good, legitimate. It should be not that you are writing a correct answer, but it is not readable, and examiner is not able to appreciate it in good marks. So that's why it is very important your handwriting should be legible. Legible means with maintaining speed, it's readable. So please take care of that also. Maintaining speed along with your handwriting, both are important. So practice beforehand. Next important point which is to be kept in to improve marks in the examination is that students need to know that in case student has some doubt in a question, he is solving or writing the answer on the basis of assumption. This we have discussed earlier also. Assumptions, whatever assumptions you are taking, please mention that in your solution. Answer the question with due emphasis on the provisions of Ind AS. Since your syllabus is Ind AS, so definitely whenever you are doing the solution, you have to connect it with any one or the other provision of the Ind AS. So that connection of the provision of the Ind AS along with your answer to your answer should be there. It is not that you are straightforwardly writing the answer. In case of computation or presentation of financial statement, yes, it is not necessary that you connect it with the provisions of the standard. However, when you are doing some discussion, explanation, comments, In such a situation, you have to connect with the provisions of the Indian Accounting Standard. Okay. Next important thing is how to manage in the manage time in the examination. See, this paper is of 3 hours. You have to complete your paper in 3 hours. Most of the students complain that they are not able to complete all the questions in this 3-hour paper. The reason behind that is that they have not done the written practice. They have not the proper planning. Mock test papers, we are giving two series of mock test papers just for your practice, just for under examination situation, how you have to appear, how you have to do the time management, how you have to maintain your speed, how you have to have a legible handwriting. Everything is for these practices only. We do mock test papers, and we are releasing 2 mock test papers in every attempt for this purpose only. So it is very necessary that you plan how you are going to appear in your examination hall. First thing is that before your start of 3 hours, 15 minutes before your start of your 3 hours, you get the question paper. That is basically called as reading time of the question paper. So those 15 minutes should be utilized very efficiently. Very efficiently means you go through the question paper quickly. It is not that you are reading each and every word. Try to give a glance to all the questions which is there in the question paper and select in which question you are very confident you can present it in the best manner. Do that. After that, also understand since there is one alternative which is given there, one choice is given in the question paper. Out of 6 questions, you have to do only 5. First is compulsory, no choice. The choice is only that you have to do first at a time, or you can do it at the later point of time. That is the choice, but you have to do question 1. After question 1, from question 2 to question 6, any 4 question has to be done by you. So that selection, which 4 question you have to do, is also to be done at the time of those 15 minutes. Try to do it at that time, because that will help you in planning further. Which question to be done first, what time is to be given to particular question based on the marks, based on the difficulty level, based on your understanding and your preparation or your confidence level. Okay. So these planning is to be done within those 15 minutes of the reading time. What I told you, in those 15 minutes, you have to also understand which question is to be done first. These are all things which we have discussed. After that, you should mark the question which you know the best, as discussed earlier. This is the question that you will be attempting first. So this is very important and crucial that you have to understand which question is going to be your first solution. Thereafter, allocate an estimated time for each question based on their difficulty level and marks carried, keeping aside 10 to 15 minutes for revision. Generally, it is very difficult to do for most of the students, but if you have done proper practice, written practice before examination, definitely you'll be getting 5 to 10 minutes for practice, for revision. Revision will basically, any part of the question has not been missed out by you. Some calculations where you feel like something has been missed by you, something which you wanted, you can match every part of the sub question has been given. For example, in one particular subpart, it is mentioned, discuss and explain of also pass the journal entries. What you have done, you have discussed, explained, but you have not passed the journal entry. So you can go through that and you can match that. All the requirements have been fulfilled in your solution or not. So this will be done at the time of revision only. So revision is the last 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. Here I am mentioning 10 to 15 minutes based on how you are able to perform. Whatever planning you do for those 15 minutes, try to stick with that. Try to adhere with whatever planning you are doing it. Say if you allocated 20 minutes for a question, which is of, say, 10 marks or 12 marks. So try to finish that particular solution in 10 to 12 marks. This planning will come when you have appeared for a mock test paper, or before that, when you were solving these questions, you estimated that this question may come in the examination for 8 marks or for 10 marks. And accordingly, you can test how much time it took to do it at that time. That was the first time when you're doing it. Now you have to reduce it. If you took, say, 22 minutes, you try to reduce it to 20 minutes, because in an examination you have to do in speed. So definitely you have to manage accordingly. So that allocation of time which you do in those 15 minutes of the reading time, that allocation or that planning has to be stick during the examination. In case sometimes it happens that you are not able to perform or you are not able to complete the solution, and much of the solution is that try to complete it fast or leave particular subpart and do it later on if it is possible for you. Though it is less advised because that again will go for complete reading of the question paper. It will take more time. So try to do it fast and complete it. So whatever, if you exceed by 1 or 2 minutes, which you are able to manage it in the second allocation of time for second question. So that is also very important. Okay, now the second next part is key specific points to be taken off while preparation. So this will be discussed by my colleague Anshul, and he will be explaining you what are the points which is to be taken care of. Okay, come on here.
Good afternoon, students. Thank you, madam, for the wonderful key points, insights which you have shared to the students, and hopefully the students will get benefited from this. So continuing with the same, now we would see how you have to, what kind of specific points you have to take care when you are preparing for the exams. So first, what the students do, they cover only selected topics. However, since this is a professional exam, so you should not do the selective study of topics. Okay, so you should cover all the topics which are there in the syllabus. And further, even if you want to see the specific weightage of the questions and answers of particular chapters, then you can see the section-wise weightage and skill-wise weightage of the concerned chapters, which are available in the BOS knowledge portal. Okay, you can go to the ICI.org and there you can check the skill-wise weightage and section-wise weightage of the particular Ind AS. And further, since most of the Ind AS are connected, so you should avoid skipping any of those Ind AS, since some topics may be interrelated to other Ind AS, and if you do not have the knowledge of that particular Ind AS, you may not be able to complete that solution if that particular problem is relating to other Ind AS. And since if you have comprehensively covered all the topics, you will be able to gain the confidence accordingly. And the another thing is that it has been noticed that some students do not do the written practice of the questions. What do? They only do the calculations orally in the calculator. And whenever there is an exam, they think that they are going to put all those calculations in the exam hall only while writing. They do not do the written practice. And since they do not do the written practice, they somehow lack the confidence and they do not gain the required speed which is needed in the examination hall. And it eventually suffers their marks. They do not get the marks as it should be. Okay. So first of all, you should be taking care that both numerical and theoretical questions should be covered by you. You should not focus only on practical questions. Okay, because some questions may be asked on the concepts only. If you are aware of the concepts, you are able to answer those questions also. So you should also have this habit that how to frame such kind of questions if you have been told to analyze the situation. Okay. And as has been discussed that you have to practice each question by hand. Although you may be coming across some students who might have passed by this practice, they are not practicing before the exams, but even they have passed, but there are very, very few exceptions. You should not follow such kind of students. Okay. And as discussed earlier, you will gain speed, you will have better confidence, and further, your own coordination will be better in this process. And further, it has been noticed that whenever the students provide the answers in their examination halls, they put the wrong figures in their answers. Although they might have calculated in a good manner, they might have calculated the calculations correctly in the calculator or in the rough area. But whenever they copy such figures to the main answer copy, they are not able to bring it as it is. Okay, for example, they might have calculated 5325 in the calculator, which is the correct calculation. But when they are copying to the answer sheet, they may write it as 5235. And if one figure is wrong, and further all the calculations will be eventually wrong. So as we know, there is step marking. So in this process, your marks may get deducted. Although you will be getting the marks through the process of step-wise marking, but they may not be as per your expectations. Okay. And further, as we have discussed, you should not consider the wrong figures. Okay. And suppose you have to add a particular item, suppose 25 plus 15, it should be 40. But since you are not in a better state of mind, you might have done it as 25 minus 15. Okay, so the answer would get wrong as 10. Okay, so it is very important to be very cool and do not try to do the things in a very speedy manner. And further, be alert and conscious, okay, about the calculations and amounts used in the solutions. Sometimes some facts are given in the question itself. Okay, so you should try to correlate those questions with the question requirements accordingly. For example, in the financial instruments chapter or in another questions which involve present value factor calculations, PVF calculations, you might have been given the present value factors of many different rates, 6%, 10%, 12%. Although in actual you might be requiring only 10%. So don't get confused that we have to apply all the rates, okay, or we have to apply this rate or that rate. Okay, as per the requirements of the question, you have to answer and proceed thereon. Okay, although you might have calculated the correct discount rate. For example, in a particular question, there would have been 10%, and you know it. But while copying it in your answer sheet or doing the calculations in the calculator, you have taken the PVFs of 12%. And if you have done so, you know how much marks you will get. Okay, because your answer may get wrong. Because initially, if you are not able to calculate the correct amount of the component, how you will get the remaining marks. So it's very important that as per the requirements of the question, you do your calculations. And as has been discussed earlier, that you have to follow the proper formats. As we follow Ind AS, so Division 2 of Schedule 3 to the Companies Act 2013, you have to prepare. Okay, by preparing the financial statements, that is balance sheet, profit and loss, etc. Okay, and sometimes it also happens that you are given specifically in the question that you have to prepare a particular component. You might be requiring, for an instance, cash flow statement or statement of changes in equity. And as per the requirements of the question and as per the marks of the question, you have to identify which components you are required to prepare. Okay. And then, as has been discussed earlier, that working notes form integral part of your answers. Okay. And they also carry the marks. So you should prepare the working notes in your solution also. Although you might have done the calculations correctly in your answers, and you might have prepared the working notes in the rough area, or you might have done the calculations in the calculator and directly copied it in the answer sheet. So you may be getting the marks with respect to the main solution, but as far as the working notes are concerned, you may not be getting those marks which are attributable to those working notes. Okay, so it's necessary to prepare all the working notes wherever there is a requirement, or wherever there are adjustments. So as we know that in India there are certain para numbers with respect to all the standards, and further there is separate index for different items like PPE, investment property, financial instruments. So if you are not sure about any particular index for the para number, you should avoid quoting it same in the answer sheet, because if you are, suppose if index 40 is applicable, okay, in real scenario, and you have mentioned there in index 2 or index 16, so it will not create good impression amongst the paper checkers. You may not be carrying the required marks, and further it may not create the good impression. So you should avoid if you are not sure about it. Okay. The wrong reference of the same may not will deduct your marks, but correct if you are not sure, you should avoid it completely. And now we come to the last minute revision tips, how you should do it. We have divided it in 3 parts. Okay, first we should see at the one day before the exams, you will not be able to study all the modules. It is not practically possible, and even if you are doing the same, you are putting unnecessary stress. Okay, so it's very important that you go through important charts or important notes which are there in the, which are, if you have prepared it, it's very good. And even the ICI has provided those flow charts, those capsules, those short summaries of all the standards, almost all the standards in the student's journal. From time to time, whenever the student's journal is published, Indias are published therein. And further, you can also access the same in our website. They are contained therein. So I just showed you where they are kept.
Because screen sharing. Screen sharing.
You should go to the website ici.org, and thereafter students section, and then in the BOS knowledge portal. In BOS knowledge portal, you can see certain sections and headings. Therein you go to the final course. In final course, all the subjects are there. Here reference for quick revision of all the subjects is there. However, if you want to see the quick references for a particular subject, then you have to go in the specific subject. Okay. Therein you can see study material, article, suggested answer, etc. Therein you can also see the references for quick revision. If you click it, as you can see, the summary of all these indices given therein in the quick references. Okay. So you can see the summary of all these standards. Okay, Indias 2, 16, 23, 1, 116, etc. All they are there in the student's capsule. Okay. You can refer the capsule for quick revision for your last minute revision. As discussed earlier, you can see your self-prepared notes, and further some students have this habit that instead of creating their own notes, they underline the important contents or important concepts in the modules or the books itself. So you can also refer the same. Okay. And further, if you have this habit to solve the practical questions just a day before the exams, then it is not practically possible to solve all the questions, all the examples, all the illustrations, all the T by K questions. So you should attempt to solve those questions only which are comprehensive in nature, which cover all the underlying concepts. Okay, somehow which are a representative of a particular Ind AS and somehow interrelate the concepts of other Ind AS. It will not only help in your revision, but it will also help you in gaining the confidence. Okay, so that exercise very implied you have to do it in advance. Do not do such kind of things just few days before the exam. Okay, do the necessary planning accordingly just before the exams. Okay, now in certain Ind AS, the students commit such kind of general mistakes which they should not be doing. Okay, so principally due to lack of knowledge in concepts or somewhere due to lack of understanding, they are not able to devote enough attention on those aspects and topics. So the CA Shilpa madam would cover such kind of things where students commit generally mistakes. There are instances, similarly, you may be committing those mistakes in other areas too.
Thank you, Anshul. And let's move on to further slides. Hope you understood that last minute revision is very important and it should be very crisp. Nothing should be left for last minute. Do it well prepared in a well planned manner. And these capsules which are provided by the Board of Studies is for your benefit. They are summaries in the crisp, very presentative manner, very in a flowchart manner, so that you can get whatever you have studied, whatever you have understood, that is revised in the last moment, in the 11th hour. So we move on to next point. There are certain in every Ind AS, there are certain critical issues where students tend to make mistakes. So what we have tried to brought out here is certain Ind AS and certain issues in those Ind AS where students misinterpret things. So just to avoid that, or to take care that you also do not do the same error, you do not do the same time of misinterpretation. To avoid that, we have brought out these, but these are only very exhaustive. These are examples only. Because of the paucity of time, it is not possible to cover each and every point of each and every standard. So what we try to do, whatever queries we receive from these students over mail ID, subject specific mail ID, there we gathered that these are the particular topics where students in general do mistakes. What they do, that they made us that this whatever solution we have done is wrong. This is the wrong calculation or wrong interpretation has been done by Board of Studies, or something typographical is there, error is there in the study material. But we realized that is, in fact, then we reply them that is the solution is correct. So there's misunderstanding of the misinterpretation of the provision. So we tried, based on those experiences, we have tried to bring 4-5 instances for your understanding. For example, in Ind AS 23 borrowing cost. As you all are aware, in borrowing cost, there are two types of borrowings, specific borrowings and general borrowings. In case of specific borrowings, whatever borrowings is in, that is for particular purpose, for construction of particular asset or qualifying asset. In case of general borrowings, what happened? There are many borrowings and they are used for many construction of many qualifying assets. So in that case, we are not aware which borrowing is used for which purpose or for which construction of which qualifying asset. In both the situation, we have to calculate the borrowing cost. Now, in case of general borrowings, we use, just a minute. In case of general borrowing, what we do is that whatever the amount of expenditure we do for construction of particular qualifying asset, that on those expenditure we apply the capitalization rate, and on base of that capitalization rate we calculate the borrowing cost. However, in case of specific borrowing, it is not there that you have to take out the amount which is spent on that in the construction of that qualifying asset. For example, I'm just trying to do it with the help of giving an example. The similar question also I'll let you know in the study material which question is to be taken care of. That is a comprehensive question, in fact. Before that, let me explain it with the help of an example. For example, there is specific borrowing, there is general borrowing. In both are for the purpose of construction of a building. Construction of a building. This building is a qualifying asset. I took a borrowing of 20 lakh for construction of this building. My building estimate is that I have to incur almost 50 lakh for the construction of this qualifying asset. So I'm still having a short borrowing. I need more funds. So what we do, we use those funds from general borrowing. So we took 30 lakh from this. Now, for calculation of borrowing cost, what we do, as and when entity or the corporates have more funds, many funds, they have procured those funds from issue of bonds, from issue of debentures, from debt taken from loan from third party, loan from bank, loan, any type of fund they have raised. They can be different manner of raising the funds, not for particular specific qualifying asset. In such a situation, they are having, say, borrowings, different borrowings. Out of that, this 30 lakh was used for this construction of building. From this 20 lakh, definitely construction of building will not take all 50 lakh in one go. You have to spend in a phased manner. As first level of construction is completed, that in that maybe that you are spending 10 lakh, then 5 lakh, then 2 lakh, whatever. It may be installments, your expenditure is in installments. If out of 20 lakh, first whatever is construction of qualifying asset is there, first we utilize specific borrowing. So first we are utilizing specific borrowing. This specific borrowing was utilized in this manner, 18 lakh and then 2 lakh. There are two different manners of utilizing this 18 lakh. Okay. For this 30 lakh, we did it in the manner 15 lakh. Sorry. 15 lakh, then we did it in 10 lakh, and then we spent 5 lakhs. In total, 30 lakh we spent, but this was in a phased manner. Now, when we are calculating the borrowing cost, if for calculation of borrowing cost, we won't look, in case of specific borrowing, we calculate 20 lakh interest on borrowing cost on this total amount at the first go, not on 18 lakh and then 20 lakh. For example, if I have spent on 1st April, I started my construction. On 1st April, I spent 18 lakh. Then on 1st July, I spent 2 lakh rupees and also 15 lakh rupees. This was also spent on 1st July. Then on 1st October, did I this, and 1st January, I did this remaining 5 lakh was spent. So when I'm calculating the borrowing cost on 1st April, I won't be calculating my interest borrowing cost on this 18 lakh. I'll be calculating on this complete 20 lakh. So this 20 lakh will be utilized for calculating borrowing cost for this qualifying asset build, that is building. What it means that even though I have spent only 18 lakh on 1st April, but I took the loan, I took the specific borrowing of total 20 lakh rupees. So it is not the expenditure which you are doing, that it is the amount of borrowing which you have taken or you have raised. Okay, so on that specific borrowing, you have to calculate the borrowing cost. What students used to do is that they calculate borrowing cost on 18 lakh for whole year. Then for 9 months, they calculate borrowing cost on this 2 lakh rupees. Whatever the rate of interest is, say the rate of interest is 5%. For sake of simplicity, 10%. But that is not correct. In case of specific borrowing, you have to calculate interest at the rate of 10% on 20 lakhs on 1st April. Okay, I hope this is clear. However, in case of general borrowing, as and when the expenditure is incurred, based on the time period for which that expenditure was utilized for the construction of construction of qualifying asset, that period is to be taken account for, and that amount of expenditure is to be taken account for calculation of borrowing cost on general borrowing. For example, for 15 lakh, since it was incurred on 1st July, from July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. For 9 months, this 15 lakh has been utilized. So you have to calculate 9 months. Well, say your general borrowing capitalization rate came to 5%. So, okay. So for 9 months at the rate of 5%, you'll be calculating borrowing cost on 15 lakh rupees, not on total 30 lakh rupees. But in case of specific borrowing, you will be calculating on total 20 lakh rupees on 1st April. So this is the difference which students are not able to make out. What they do is that as and when the expenditure is incurred, they compute the borrowing cost. So that is wrong. That is the difference which you have to take care of. Question in this respect is given in your test your knowledge question, which is question number 4 or 5 of test your knowledge of this chapter. This is I guess module 2, chapter 7, unit 4, which is on India's 23 borrowing cost. Test your knowledge question number 4 or 5 is there, which deals with such scenario. This is a comprehensive question. Please mark this question and try to do it one day before examination. Similarly, there is a question of foreign exchange. If you are doing borrowings from foreign currency rather than in Indian currency or the presentation currency, how to deal with that, what amount to be capitalized as borrowing cost, that is also given there. That is also very important concept and tricky question. So students generally make errors in that particular question also. That is to be taken care of. Okay, Anmol has placed one question which was related to foreign exchange difference with respect to PPE. Anmol, I would like you to please mention me. Just a minute, students. Anmol, your query, I was not able to understand your query. Foreign exchange difference, bifurcation, change in value loss, and exchange loss. In case of PP, how to compute? For which question you are asking and which standard? Because it may relate to India's 23 also. It may relate to any other PP also, like India's 16 also. So please just mention clearly what exactly you are asking. And next question was impairment loss bifurcation for change in value and exchange component, RTP, November 2020 question. See, Anmol, this counseling session is for your mock test paper. If you are asking me for RTP November 2020, I would like you to put it over the mail. You can write at fr-final@ici.in or through mobile app, BOS mobile app. You just put your question and ask your query. We'll be replying you. But right now, if you ask me any question, the treatment given therein in RTP November 2020, so I am not prepared with that. I am not ready with the question. So that's why you have done one thing. This platform, this counseling session was announced much before, and your query was given in the Google form was given where you was asked to put your query. In case you have raised the query therein, we would have checked that question and we would come with the reply. Now you're asking me a question for RTP and I'm doing a session for MTP. It is difficult for me to go through that. You're disturbing the counseling session. So it is requested to put me separately, place the query separately through BOS mobile app or at fr-final@ici.in. Ravi Gohil is asking how to revise financial reporting to get 60 marks. Okay, I should have discussed with you last moment revision through capsules which is given by Board of Studies or through the notes which you prepare by your own. That is also notes or when you are reading the study material or any module, any chapter from any coaching material, that is as per your convenience. Whenever you read, you definitely underline few important contents, you mark something at the corner in the margin pages. So go through those things, and also at the last moment, you have kept certain questions. You must keep certain questions which involves most of the calculations, most of the provisions are dealt in that particular question. Like for India's 23, I'm telling you, test your knowledge question this which deals with specific borrowings incurred at different stages in different periods, and also it also has general borrowing, how to calculate borrowing costs, foreign exchange, when you are borrowing in foreign currencies, how to capitalize, what amount to capitalize. These two important concepts are there which you deal with, which you just revise at the time of your examination. Similarly, for every standard, you may have marked certain questions which involve all the calculations. Or for example, for first 6 illustrations deal with 6 different provisions of the standard. 7th question deals with all those 6 provisions which you have studied earlier. So mark that question number 7. Question number 7 will be marked for revision at the second round of revision or for third round of revision, which you'll be doing before examination. So that is the manner you do. That strategy you have to build, and that strategy is not one day strategy, and that is to be done beforehand. Still, you are having 10 days, 15 days time. So still you can mark out the questions which you can revise at a time before, one day before examination. Also, Ravi Gohil is asking how to study big Indies like Indies 103, Indies 110, Indies 109, Indies 102, Indies 115, and Indies 116. See, for certain Indies like Indies 103, Indies 116, we have come out with capsules. Those Indies will help, those capsules will help you in quick revision, last moment revision. Though we are trying to come out with the remaining standards capsules which have been left over for the standards, but still, when you have studied, you have prepared your own notes, you have marked the questions, that's what we are saying. It is always advised to make your own notes and study with those notes only at the time of one day before examination, because that is, you have studied accordingly, you have prepared as per your understanding, as per your preparation, so you'll be able to understand what is to be checked in the last moment, in the 11th hour. So go through those standards. However, for last revision, last round of revision, it is always advised to go through past suggested answers. Past suggested answers will help you in giving an insight that what kind of questions are asked in the examination, what is the manner of answering, what is the manner of presenting your solution. So last round of study should be based on your suggested answers. Suggested answers and also mock test papers. Mock test papers will give a practice, hand-on practice under examination conditions. This will help you in understanding how to do the time management, how to increase your speed, how to answer quickly, how to make the planning for during examination. This beforehand practice will be given through mock test papers. So last round of revision should be suggested answers and mock test papers. For big standards, you are asking how to do the revision. So you have definitely prepared the notes. I am expecting that you would have prepared the notes, and through those notes and the questions which you have marked for practice, do those questions. If you have not marked the questions, then definitely go through your test your knowledge questions. Or one important thing which I would like to suggest you is that section-wise weightage is uploaded on the website. Okay, and those section-wise weightages will help you in understanding what is the importance of particular topic from examination perspective. For example, your group-based consolidated financial statement, your business combination standard is having weightage of 10 to 15%. So it means, or it implies that minimum 12 marks question or maximum minimum 10 to 12 marks. There is a scope of tolerance of plus minus 5%. So I'm expecting minimum 10 marks question and maximum 20 marks question will be asked on these topics. Combined means 103, 110, 111, 27, 28. These questions, any of the questions or combined of these questions may be asked. So you should prepare accordingly that, okay, for this particular, when you are doing your test of knowledge question, any question which you are practicing, you say, okay, this question may come in the examination for 10 marks. It means this may come in the examination. This question, if comes in the examination, it will be of 8 marks. That type of guess you can make based on the number of calculations involved, based on the time it is taken, based on trickiness involved in that particular question. You can estimate the marks which can be allocated to that particular question. Based on that allocation of estimated allocation, you can just guess that this type of question may come in the examination or may not come in the examination. This estimate should be made only for a last round of preparation, not from the first round. In the first round, as Anshul told, don't go for selective study. This is not at all advisable. Even for 103, if you go through 103, you'll find deferred tax concept is used, share-based concept is used, your India's 37 intangible as a contingent liabilities, unidentified liabilities is also used. So every other standards are interconnected with other standards. So if you leave certain standard or you go for selective study, then you won't be able to gain confidence or be sure that 100% preparation has been done by you and you'll be able to do the whole entire paper. So that is why when you are going through, we are preparing for particular standard, make your own notes, mark the questions and do those questions at the end before examination. Similarly, go through your notes also. These were the questions which were posed by Anmol, Ravi. Any other question, but please restrict your questions to the MTP or any general queries which you're asking for the counseling session, because this counseling session is meant for that. In case you're having any specific technical query for any particular question, I would request you once again to put your query, please send your query to us through fr-final@isa.in or through BOS mobile app. Okay, let me again go back to my I'm coming back to my slide. Just give me some time. Huh? Okay. So for India's specific points to be. Okay. So we discussed India's 23 borrowing cost, where students tend to make mistake when it comes to specific borrowing and general borrowing. If amount of expenditure for specific borrowing is also done in different phases, in different period of time, then how to calculate the borrowing cost on that specific borrowing. Okay. Next slide is India's one. This is very basic. I believe every student understands the concept of current and non-current. Current assets, non-current assets, current liability, non-current liability. Still, when it comes to preparation of financial statements, students make that mistake. What is the general mistake which they do in this particular standard is, when same item, there's one item which have element of current and non-current. In that situation, they make mistakes. What is the mistake? For example, they have taken a loan. They have to pay that loan in installments in over 5 years. So what we do that, if I have to repay the loan in 5 years, it is definitely a non-current liability. It will appear in a non-current. Students do it that they place that total amount of that loan into under non-current liability. But since that repayment of loan is to be done in installments, in annual installments, what does that mean? In the reporting, at the reporting date, the first installment which is due within 12 months is your current liability. As per the definition of current, anything which is to be received or repaid within 12 months from the reporting date is current. So if first installment is to be paid annually within 12 months, then that is current. Even that loan is one, but it has two elements of non-current and non-current. The current item, that is the first annual installment or the annual installment, one annual installment is to be shown under the heading current liability, and 4 installments, I'm talking about first year, okay? First year of the loan. So that's why the time it is taken the loan. So 4 installments will be considered as non-current item. But what students used to do is that they take entire amount of the loan, that means all the 5 installments in total as non-current items. So that comes to wrong presentation. So though they know about it, but still they make mistake, maybe because of speed, maybe because of doing it time management. So please be focused, alert, and do things properly. Okay. Now in the 36 impairment of assets, what happens when students are able to identify what is the impairment loss, what is the amount of impairment loss, how to allocate that impairment loss in case of different cash generating units an entity is having. within the assets of different assets of that particular cash generating unit, how to impair goodwill, how to reverse, even till reversal also they will be able to do. But when reversal of impairment loss comes, students confuse when your fair value or the whatever the value which recoverable value which comes is more than the carrying amount. How much to reverse? What amount to reverse? Students make mistake in that. Whenever you are reversing the impairment loss, you have to calculate the carrying amount, keeping into mind that earlier there was no impairment loss. And when there was no impairment loss, what would have been the depreciation which you have deducted till date, whatever the amortization is to be done, and now what would have been the carrying amount without impairment loss. To the extent of that carrying amount only, impairment loss can be reversed. But what after that? Suppose your recoverable value was showing that your asset is now say 10 lakh. Earlier it was reduced to 9 lakh. So you have to reverse 1 lakh as impairment loss. But last year you have done only impairment of 50,000. You have charged impairment loss of 50,000 only. So it means you can reverse only till 50,000. You can increase your carrying value till 9 lakh 50,000. Let me write it through example. In 2020, you made an impairment loss of 50,000. Because of this 50,000, your asset value, carrying value of the asset came down to 9 lakh rupees. Fine. In 2021, there was reversal of this impairment loss. Now, they are saying your recoverable value of the asset will be 10 lakh. It means there is a case of impairment loss. I have to reverse impairment loss, but I cannot reverse this entire 50,000. It may be definitely that less amount is to be reversed. But when I reverse 50,000, my asset value, say I'm ignoring depreciation calculation, it is coming 9 lakh 50,000. What about this difference of 50,000? We leave the question till impairment loss. If question asks to calculate the impairment loss or give the treatment of reversal of impairment loss, then you have to tell about this 50,000 only. But if talks about what will be the treatment when your recoverable value in the next year increases to this much. So even after reversal of impairment loss, you have to explain the difference of 50,000 will be considered as revaluation reserve as per that property plant and Ind AS 16, and that is to be accounted as per Ind AS 16, not as per Ind AS 36, as per Ind AS 16. This is most of the time students miss that. So please take care of this while doing your solution. If something is very important is that you take care of what is required in the question. Question asks you to give the treatment of impairment loss. Question asks you to give the treatment of reversal of impairment loss, then restrict your answer till 9 lakh 50,000. Fine. But if question asks you what will be the treatment of the property, plant and equipment on this particular date, what will be the value showing appearing in the financial statements? In that situation, you have to show that your asset will be of 10 lakh rupees, out of which till this amount it is reversal of impairment loss and the remaining will be your revaluation reserve. So you have to extend further with your answer. You cannot restrict till 9 lakh 50,000 or you cannot restrict it to reversal of impairment loss. This is to be taken care of. Okay. Next. Ind AS specific points, one again, now I am talking about Ind AS 16. This is the general mistake. Since 2017, we have launched the study material, new course, and from there to till date, we are getting similar kind of query for Ind AS 16 also and for Ind AS 40 also. This is the case where there is exchange of asset. You are acquiring new asset by exchanging your old asset. What happens? You have to record a value, record an amount, a cost for the asset which you have received or you have acquired. What in that case we have to take into account the fair value of the assets. What happens? The standard says you have to state the fair value of the either of the asset depending on the situation. Depending on the situation. what is the situation which is to be taken care of? Fair value can be of two things. One, asset given up, and asset. Another is fair value of the asset acquired. Acquired. If they are saying whichever is clearly evident, if asset acquired is given up clearly evident, then take the asset of fair value of the asset acquired. If the asset of fair value of the given up asset is clearly evident, then take the asset of fair value of the asset given up as the cost of the new asset. Okay, you have to identify the cost of the new asset. What students make the mistake is that in a situation when both the fair values are given, when both the assets fair values are given, fair value of the asset given up and the fair value of the asset acquired, fair value of both the assets are given, in such a situation students assume that they have to take the they have to take the fair value of the asset acquired, which is not correct. They are not supposed to record the value of new asset from the fair value of the asset acquired. Why? Suppose, for example, you buy a pen. When you go to market, you buy a pen. This pen you are buying from the market. You are paying 10 rupees to buy this pen. So what is the cost of this pen? This is the cost of this pen is what is the amount you are giving in the form of cash. Okay, or whatever Paytm, digital mode of payment you are doing, whatever the amount you are paying is the cost of this asset. Okay, so for new asset which you are acquiring in exchange of the asset given up, for example, now I have to buy this calculator. For this calculator, I am giving this pen. This is a Parker pen. I am giving this pen for this calculator. I know the fair value of this calculator. I know the fair value of this pen. So which fair value is to be taken? I am getting this calculator. I want this calculator. This is the acquisition. This is my acquisition. I am taking this calculator, acquiring this calculator. So I have to take the fair value of this or no? Then I have to take the fair value of pen. Because I am paying this pen to acquire this calculator. So this payment is my cost. This pen which is going out, this is my cost. As per the definition of cost, which is given in the same standard, India 16, it is given what the pay cost is the value of cash or the cash any cash equivalent or any other form of in a fair value of any other consideration given. That is the cost of the asset. So I am giving this asset, this pen to the dealer or the vendor, and from that I am taking the calculator, I am purchasing the calculator. So my cost is the fair value of the pen. In case when the fair value of both the assets is given up. In question, if the fair value of both the assets is given up, it means they are equally evident. And when they are equally evident, you have to take the cost of the asset given up. Okay, the question language is a bit confusing. It says unless the fair value of the asset received is clearly evident. It means if it is clearly evident that weightage of the asset received is acquired is fair value of the asset acquired is more clearly evident, then you have to take the fair value of the asset acquired. When both are equally evident, both the fair values are being calculated or determined in a fair manner, then you have to take the fair value of the asset given up as the cost of the asset acquired. Okay, so this is the common mistake which is done not only in India 16 but also in India's 40. Investment property, same concept is used there also, and same mistake students do there also. General query every time comes to us: why have you taken the asset fair value of the asset given up when fair value of asset acquired is mentioned in the question. So this is the concept. This is the reason when what is the cost of the asset. When both the fair values are equally evident, whatever you're paying is the cost of acquisition of new asset. Okay, hope this is clear to you. Okay, next we move on to next point. This is India's 103 business combination. Even in business combination, what happens? They are, for example, purchase consideration constitutes of what? Cash we are paying, any securities we are paying, any deferred consideration, which we will pay in future, and last is contingent consideration. Contingent consideration is which depends on meeting of particular criteria or future conditions. If that is met out, we also pay contingent consideration. So at the time of acquisition, when we are computing purchase consideration, we have to take the fair value of this contingent consideration. Fair value at the acquisition date of this contingent consideration forms part of the purchase consideration. Okay, that is okay, fine. But what happens later on? Suppose this contingent consideration is for after 3 years, is to be met out after 3 years. So at the acquisition date on 1st April 20X1, I computed the fair value of the contingent consideration and that formed part of the purchase consideration. Now on 1st April 20X2, I found that this fair value has been increased or this fair value has been reduced. What to do? How to treat it? Students generally do this, that they change the fair purchase consideration, which is not to be done. Purchase consideration once determined will, or goodwill once computed will continue. Only in case of measurement period, you identified some, you discovered, it's not in fact identified, you discovered some elements which were to be taken into account at the time of acquisition date, but that was missed out. So standard give you the provision leverage of 1 year as a measurement period. In 1 year, you can determine that those elements which you missed out for calculation of purchase consideration at the acquisition date. Your date is not changing, but it may happen that certain facts you were not able to estimate, you were not able to take into account, you were not able to identify at that time. Later came into mind that ye bhi tha. For example, quick unidentifiable liability hai, which you forgot to take into account at that time. So you have 1 year period. You can identify, you found out and you can revise the purchase consideration. But that unidentified liability should exist on that particular acquisition date. However, change in the fair value of the contingent consideration subsequently will not be considered as a change in the fair value of the contingent consideration on acquisition date. Acquisition date आपके 1st April 20X1 की 20X1 को कोई चेंज फेयर वैल्यू आपने गलत ले ली तो फिर तो आप चेंज कर लीजिए, परचेज कंसिडरेशन चेंज कर लीजिए, गुडविल ठीक है. 1 साल के विद इन अगर आपने डिस्कवर कर लिया फैक्ट. हाउएवर 1st April 20X2 को अगर आपको फेयर वैल्यू चेंज हो रही है तो दिस इज सब्सिक्वेंट मेजरमेंट एंड दिस सब्सिक्वेंट मेजरमेंट how to account for. Students generally change the purchase consideration, which is not the correct treatment. What they have to do is that you have to identify this contingent consideration is resulting into equity or is resulting into which falls within the scope of 109 or other standards. In case it results into equity, there is no remeasurement. Okay, you not required to remeasure, shall not be remeasured, and subsequent settlement should be true within equity. When at the time of settlement, whenever it is, say 2 years or 3 years hence, whenever the settlement is to be done, at that time that has to be accounted for. Meanwhile, during that 3-year period, there will be no remeasurement if that contingent consideration leads to settlement in equity. However, if contingent consideration leads to settlement of some other asset or some other asset, and in that case, you have to check whether it falls within the purview of 109, that is financial asset, or within other than 109. Then in both the situations, you have to deal through profit and loss, not through any other manner, not through equity, not through balance sheet, or not to be remeasured, but through P&L. Okay. Next question: do's and don'ts, which will be discussed with by Anshul. Before that, I just want to see any queries students are having. Let me see. We are not having any queries. Students, I believe your doubts are clear. General queries which we receive from students for how to prepare. Let me just go through the queries which we received beforehand. Okay, Sachin Dev further said how to register for mock test. Register for mock test, there is no register. If the branch is conducting mock test, then you have to tell the branch that you want to appear, and whatever the scheduled date which has been announced by Board of Studies, branch will inform you, and you can go through the website also to know the dates, and at particular date you can go to the branch if they are conducting the physical form of this mock test paper examination. You can go there and appear. There's no online payment. One student may have asked what to pay and how to pay. There's no payment. Branch may take payment because of for evaluation or provide administrative charges. They may take some payment, but you have to take those information from the branch only, and branch you have to give that payment to branch only. Nothing is charged by Board of Studies. What type of this is related to GFRS? Okay. How to write in the exam for better scoring? We told you, just be connect with whatever the requirement of the question is. Accordingly, answer the question. All assumptions should be there. Working notes should have been prepared properly in proper format. That is all important for scoring good marks. And definitely your preparation. If you are thorough with all your preparations, all concepts, then definitely you'll be able to answer all the questions. Huh? Want to give MTP to everything now is there on the website. Students, even mock test paper 1 and 2, both the series are there. You can go through there, do it under examination condition, and then cross check with the solutions. That has also been uploaded on the website. Okay. Notes, we have already given. Board of Studies have given the capsules. Even classes are there. Assignments of those classes are uploaded on the LBC portal. You can go there and check that out. Okay. Now for do's and don'ts, Anshul will be there to reply you. Anshul, come.
So students, after discussing the technical aspects, now we also see other points which are also important in nature, and sometimes the students underestimate those points. So it's also very important that you take care of those points also. So as we know that as the exams approach, we tend to develop certain negative feelings, whether we will be able to clear it or not, what the other students are doing, what our friends are doing, what are the expectations of parents, etc. So you should avoid any such kind of feelings. Okay. So do not tend to get yourself surrounded by any negative circumstances. Okay. So for that, it is very important that you remain positive and keep yourself either study or keep yourself busy in positive things, reading or listening or walking, etc. Okay. And further, as discussed, whatever you have decided as per your goal, remain vigilant. Okay. Just think that what I have to do, for what purpose I have come here, for what purpose I am utilizing my time. I have to clear CA exam, so that should be your focus. No other distraction should be there in your way. Okay. And further, it is also very important, as we have discussed earlier, that you have to plan your studies a day before the exam. Okay. So sometimes it may happen that the students do not tend to get the negative feelings a day before the exam, just because of the reason that they have not been able to do the proper planning. Okay. And further, take a proper sleep before the exam. Sometimes the students tend to study all the day and night, and when the exam time comes, they are not able to focus accordingly in the exam. They are not able to write because their senses are not in control. Somehow they are not able to put on the paper what they had thought. Okay, their mind and hand coordination does not get in a coordinated manner, just because of the reason that you have not been able to rest your mind as well as your body. So there needs to be a balanced approach in this regard. Okay. So for that, please make sure that you take a proper sleep. And further, some students also skip the meals, etc. Okay, during this process, because they feel that they are under stress, and if they eat, they tend to get more sleepy. Although it is advisable that you do not overeat but it is also not advisable that you skip the meals. Okay, to function the body properly and even to study, etc., you need energy, and that food, etc., is the source of energy through which you will be able to perform. Okay, and now we also discuss some don'ts which you should avoid. Okay, as we know that social media is a big distraction these days. Technology has both aspects, positive and negative, but during this crucial time, it is not advisable to use any sort of social media, whether WhatsApp, whether Facebook, whether Instagram, etc. Okay, because the students will put their opinions, or any of the outside world interests would put their opinions, due to which your own preparation may get hampered. Because if you get in any particular thought due to any activity written there or being discussed there, you may fall in a trap. Okay, some students do not have this ability to come out of a trap if they are, if they are caught in a certain event which is stuck in their mind. Okay, so don't get panic. So whatever phase is there, you just have to enjoy it, because there is no other option. You have to do it in any way. Okay. So further, it has been also seen that if a student has not performed well in a particular exam, then they come under stress and they are not able to perform well in the subsequent exam, just because of the reason in the past they have not been able to perform well. But please mind, even if your exam paper has not been done as per your expectations, just focus on the remaining papers, because who knows that those remaining papers will get you more marks and you will eventually become CA. Okay, if there has come difficult paper, then that difficult paper has come for all the students, not just for you. Okay, so just remain positive and proceed accordingly. And it has also been seen that some students come out of the examination hall and start discussing with their friends, etc., that what is the answer, what they have left, and what is the minimum marks which the students are going to get, etc. You should not discuss any such kind of points. Just refrain from doing any such kind of activities. It may happen that the things which you want to listen from other people, you may not be getting that, and you may be ultimately getting into the stress that I have not been able to perform accordingly. Okay, so don't discuss the exam paper after coming out of the examination hall. And further, some students have this habit that they compare their performance with their peers, with their friends. Do not do this. Although evaluation is necessary, but do it after the exams are over. After the exams are over, you can do it your self-evaluation. You can discuss with your friends. Once the suggested answers of institute are published, you can compare your answers with the suggested answer, that how should the presentation be, where we have lagged. Okay, so this is how you should proceed, and this is our wishes that you perform very well in the examination. And with all these technical tips and other tips which we have given you, we hope that the things will go fine and you will be able to clear the exam.
Any queries?
And if you have any queries, you can ask. And if
we are waiting for your queries. In case you have any queries, you can place it this portal live, the link which has been given along with the announcement. Or you can also, in case of future queries, you can ask through Buoyo's mobile app, ask your query.
The students, I just give you a reference of one question, that how you should be writing, how should be attempting as per the requirements of the question, because there has been so much of interaction that how you should be attempting, how you should see the requirement.
Like we discussed, that a matching of question requirement of the question and answer should be there, but still for your better understanding, we are trying to do it, we illustrate it with the help of one question which was there in the mock test paper itself for March series. Please go through that, what was the requirement of the question, what students in general do, and they feel that they have not received the marks. what care points to be taken care of, Anshul will be explaining you.
So students, as we know that we have to attempt the question as per the requirements and as per its corresponding marks. Okay, I have just taken the first question of March 2022 series. Okay, this question is of 12 marks. So this question was from analysis of financial statements in relation to, if you read it with Ind AS 101. And further, you should also have the knowledge of Indian GAAP, that is accounting standards, also to attempt this question. Okay. So therein certain issues were given, and you are required to answer upon those issues as per the requirements of the question. So what was the requirement of the question? The question had said that prepare the Ind AS impact analysis report. Why I am discussing this question with you? So that you can ascertain that where you are lacking. Sometimes the question requirements are not seen by the students in a proper manner. So ultimately they lose the marks. Okay, just because of the reason they have not presented it in a proper manner. Okay, so prepare Ind AS impact analysis report for H Limited for presentation to the management, wherein you are required to discuss the corresponding differences between earlier IGAAP, that is accounting standard, and Ind AS. So the question specifies us that you have to discuss the corresponding differences between earlier. So it implies that we have to make one column of earlier GAAP, that is accounting standard, and Ind AS also. So we would make one column of Ind AS also, and its impact thereon. Okay. Further, see the conditions. We should also see the impact. Okay, what impact it is going to create if we have moved from earlier GAAP to Ind AS, because we know as per Ind AS 101, in the opening Ind AS balance sheet as on the date of transition, we have to make certain adjustments and entries in our books of accounts. Okay, we need to prepare third balance sheet as on the transition date. Okay, so all these things we have to prepare as per the requirements of the question. And further, we have also to pass journal entry. So you can see there are 4 subparts of this question. So what has been observed that students, although they may be doing the correct entry of journal entry, which is the ultimate answer, no doubt about it, they may be correct, but if you have not mentioned these things, you will get the proportionate marks. You will get the stepwise marking. You will not get the whole marks. Suppose these 4 points, this is 12 marks question. Okay, and there are 6 issues. Just for the sake of instance, don't take it as it is. Just suppose one issue is of 2 marks. Okay, and all these 4 items carry 0.5 marks. Okay, this is just for the sake of instance. We do not know exactly how the paper setters will do this exercise for a particular question. So suppose if you have passed only journal entry and it carries 0.5 marks, so how many marks you will get? Suppose even if your 6 issues are correct, 6 into 0.5, you will get 3 marks. And the question is of 12 marks. And sometimes the students complain that we have not been able to get the required marks because you have not presented the question as per the requirements. Okay. And sometimes what happens, the students may state the impact and journal entry. how much marks you will get? 1 marks for one issue, and 6 marks for 6 issues. And that too, even if you have attempted all those issues correctly, it may also happen that you might have done something wrong in a particular issue. Okay. So the purpose of making this question was that you could know that where we lack and where we generally commit mistakes. Hence, see the requirements of the question and accordingly proceed further. And further, I also give you another example. For example, this is question 2A of the same series. Now, this question is of 2 marks only. Okay. And even in the 2 marks, there are 2 subparts of this question. So from the marks of the question, you should attempt your answer accordingly. You should not write or elaborate in so much detail, because this is only 2 marks question, and even therein 2 subparts are there. For example, what is the length of the operating cycle? You can directly say, not directly, but operating cycle of the so and so company, 9 plus 7 months is equal to 16 months. You are not required to bring in the provision of Ind AS 1 here. Although it is recommended that you should write those provisions, but if the question carries only 1 mark, you do not have enough time. You are also required to attempt other questions also. Okay. So similarly, you have to present the B part in a correct manner. Okay. So it all depends upon the requirements of the question and the marks of the question. And further, if something has been told to you that you should elaborate, evaluate, then you should discuss the provisions, facts of the case, make the conclusions, and wherever adjustment is required, wherever the interlinking of other standards is required, you should mention all those aspects. Okay. So you have to apply your knowledge and mind in such circumstances as per the facts and circumstances of the particular situation and question. So thank you, students. We hope that you perform very well in the examination. And if you have any further query, as discussed earlier, you can put your queries on the DoS mobile app. Thank you very much.